Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Leah Tannett. I'm the founder and CEO of Pineapple Support, and really excited about the event we have today. I think it's really important to focus on ourselves, to really dive into the art of self-love and security in our own selves, because at the end of the day, we have ourselves first. So safety, stability, and self-love. We will be hearing from 4 amazing therapists, experts. And the first is Nadège. So Nadège is going to be talking about the art of self-pleasure. And this is something that we should all really be enjoying on a more deeper level as well, I think, because a lot of people just kind of do it as part of routine or to get quick endorphins, and it's important to really enjoy the moment as we would if we were with somebody else as well. So before handing you over, I'm going to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, Sex Panther, Sexy Jobs, and Strip Chat. Without them, this event wouldn't have been possible. We are extremely grateful. And I shall let you take it from here, Nadège. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's always really an honor to work with you guys, and I'm really glad to be here. So let's jump in to the art of self-pleasure. So this class, first of all, welcome. Hopefully you'll come better today after we dive into this a little bit. So I'm not sure if you can do this with webinars as much, but I usually tell folks to introduce yourself and share in the chat, put yourself on mute. But I think we're a webinar, and Leah, you're better at technology than me because you already had all of this unlocked. So I don't think anyone actually needs to mute themselves today. But if you do have any questions, we're going to have a section at the end to answer any Q&As, and I'm happy to answer them. So please write them down and have them ready at the end of the presentation. So what we're going to cover in this session today, I'm going to go over mindful masturbation techniques, a way to connect to your body that you can add on to self-pleasure if you want. I'm going to talk a little bit about sex breakthrough coaching, which is what I do in case, you like me and want to work with me after this. And then I'm going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is masturbation as manifestation. I think this is a really beautiful way to really connect to self-pleasure as an art form and weave it into your routine in new ways. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Nadège. I coach ambitious, intuitive people to trust, love, and learn sex using your natural strengths. I'm a sex scholar who graduated from Berkeley and an astrologer. I'm an author. That's my book. And when I'm not busy, researching sex or talking about sex, I'm usually in a jacuzzi, smoking weed, talking about astrology, or I'm with my dog Momo, which I probably should have a picture of her here because she's way cuter than I am. But let us dive in. So mindful masturbation techniques. So one of the best things that you can do if you want to make self-pleasure not feel routine or not feel like something you're checking off, or like Leah said, like just another way to get those endorphins, is to really set the scene. And so ways that I like to do this and recommend people doing this is, first off, have any toys or lube nearby. I think adding lube to self-pleasure is such a great booster. I feel like as sex workers, y'all are probably going to be more likely to do this than folks who aren't in our industry and aren't professionals working with eroticism. But other things to do that are really powerful when it comes to making self-pleasure an art form is really adding that ambiance. And there's lots of really subtle ways to do that. And it really is going to not just boost the self-pleasure that you can have, but it'll take you out of the framework of whatever routine you were in and make it feel a little bit newer. And it's a way to add novelty to your life. And studies show that one of the best ways to connect to eroticism or raise your libido is by adding novelty. So you can light some candles, play a sexy playlist. I also totally recommend going on Amazon and finding an LED sunset lamp or an ocean lamp. There are these really cool, they're like $20, but they can completely change the ambiance of your bedroom or wherever you want to self pleasure. You could even travel with them if you wanted because they're really small. And you tilt them up to the ceiling and then they create a sunset effect in your bedroom. And changing the lighting like this can be a really big elevator. And it's something that we can do when we're with others a lot of the time. Like, oh, maybe I'll clean for my lover is coming over, or I'll light some candles because I want it to be romantic. When it comes to really connecting to yourself, I feel like we should be doing this for ourselves as well. So, the first step of mindful masturbation and the art of self pleasure is figuring out what ambiance you like and doing that for yourself. I also recommend buying bamboo sheets. They're also like $30 to $40 on Amazon, so on the affordable spectrum, but they feel like silk and they're so delicious. And so there's all of these cool little ways before you even self pleasure that you can switch things up if you feel like you're kind of in a rut with self pleasure. And then the next thing that I really like to encourage is keeping it as simple as possible when it comes to elevating your self care and self love routine. So, when it comes to mindful masturbation, the really simple adjustments to make to heighten the experience and make it more intentional. One is just setting an intention. And this can be any intention that you want. And in fact, I'm going to jump more into the nitty gritty of this when we talk about masturbation as a way to manifest. But setting an intention, something like this is my time of rest and pleasure, or I'm giving myself permission to fantasize without shame and think whatever dirty, crazy thoughts I want to think. And then I like to do a breath work grounding technique that is also incredibly simple. I'm someone who actually struggles a lot with breath work. And so when people encourage me to incorporate breath work into sex, it can be very difficult. And so a reason why I like this technique that I'm about to show you is it's so simple. Anybody can do it. And it has a very soothing effect on your nervous system that is immediate. And it's doing a 4 to 6 breath count. So what this means is that you're going to inhale for 4 counts and exhale for 6 counts. And I recommend doing this maybe 3 times before you begin the masturbation session. So, doing a 4 to 6 count breath, the reason why this is so powerful is when you exhale for longer than you inhale, you immediately start soothing your nervous system. So, if you are anxious at a party, you can actually do this to soothe your nervous system. If you're having a trauma response, you can do this to soothe your nervous system. It's a very simple and powerful exercise. So, set an intention, lay down, do 3 breaths where you inhale for 6 is really, really powerful. It's a great way to center yourself before self pleasure. If you want to make this feel like more of a novelty, and you want to heighten the experience, or if you're stressed and your intention with masturbation is maybe to release an emotion. The next step that I would recommend after you've set an intention, doing a little bit of simple breath work, is another, like I said before, have some lube or sex toys nearby, whatever you like to use already in your routine. I personally love having a jar of virgin coconut oil or filtered coconut oil next to me. That's the lube of my preference. And the next thing that I like to do when we're trying to do mindful masturbation after we've done a little bit of breathing is take a big dollop of that lube, rub it all over your hands, and then really start massaging and appreciating all your erogenous zones and try to go as slow as you can. Another helpful tip with mindful masturbation as well is sometimes scheduling it in your can be a really great thing because, for example, if you're going to take the time to massage and do the breath work, masturbation can go from a 15-minute or 10-minute one and done to like a 30 to 40-minute experience, right? And if you're someone like me who is busy, we have a lot on our plate, setting time aside and scheduling this intimacy time for yourself can also be great because you can really take your time, you can go slow, and you're not going to feel like you're crunched for time. So the next thing that I recommend, you've done the breath work, you have the lube, and start massaging your erogenous zones very slowly. It doesn't even need to be in a way that explicitly is meant to turn you on. And you can even just stay here for a minute or two. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn out experience. Try to follow the intuition and flow of your body and energy. And when you get to your groin, take an especially slow amount of time there, really getting the lube everywhere, because if you're going to be using your hands or a toy, as we all know, that only makes everything more heightened and delicious. And then, yay, we're here. Perfect. So we're on the slide of, let me see, I think it's like the 6th or 7th slide. It should say simple is sexy. Yes, this is the setting the scene, which, remember, bamboo sheets. If you get anything from this class, I hope you get the bamboo sheets. And so once you've had, some time to do the breath work, you have the lube, you've massaged yourself, taken a little bit of time to connect to your body, to touch your different zones. You've taken time at your groin. At that point, flow into your usual masturbation routine. The real trick with mindful masturbation is more what we do ahead of time. And it's less about trying to control your mind body when you're in the flow of self-pleasure. And then one thing that I always really recommend with any type of mindful masturbation, and this can even be the intention that you decide to set at the beginning, is to give yourself permission to fantasize without judgment or shame. There's we all know there's so many ways that our society is incredibly pleasure negative and whorephobic. And giving ourselves permission to fantasize without shame, even if we're fantasizing about something that might eroticize oppression, studies show that it can be incredibly cathartic to give yourself permission to fantasize about taboo things. So that's another element and layer that I recommend as well. You can go to the next slide now, please. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the body. And actually you can go again I just love this picture of this guy, like looking at his cool penis and being, excited about it. But so what is a technique that I really love and recommend is a pleasure scan. They're very simple. And you can really make this technique your own. So with a pleasure scan, this is something that you can add to your, self-pleasure routine, or you can not add it in if you don't want to do it at that time. But basically with the pleasure scan, I recommend doing it. So once you've set the scene, candles are lit, LED light is on, bamboo sheets are ready, and it's before you set an intention. And so lay down and do a scan of your body. Again, try to start with that 4 to 6 count breath and doing that little breath work, because that'll already get you embodied. And then out loud or silently name your body parts, starting with your toes. And I like to say something sort of like this, especially if we're thinking of honoring body, honoring pleasure, is saying, I feel my toes and I honor the pleasure they bring me. And just slowly but surely going through every single body part. This pleasure scan is just such a delightful way to remind your body that, regardless of the hard things that may happen or will happen in life, there's still pleasure to be had. And while your body might store memories that, cannot always be the most fun to think about, your body also stores pleasure. There is also good things here. So doing a pleasure scan is an optional add-on to mindful masturbation. It can heighten pleasure by connecting you to your body. And a pleasure scan can also be something that you do regardless of mindful masturbation. There could be a time where your art of self-pleasure isn't masturbation and orgasm. It's just connecting to your body, and a pleasure scan or doing the 4 to 6 breath count are great ways to practice the art of self-pleasure regardless of orgasm, or sex, because of course, the art of self-pleasure is about more than just sex. It's about normalizing the feeling of pleasure in your body so you can appreciate pleasure in and out of the bedroom. Next slide, please. So really quick, before we jump into masturbation as manifestation, I wanted to let you all know a little bit about my sex breakthrough coaching program. So this coaching program teaches you to trust your intuition and your choices, connect to your body, stop self-sabotaging your desires, and authentically give and receive pleasure. And we do this by having weekly one-to-one coaching calls where I call you on the phone. I don't do it on Zoom. And we do personalized exercises and teach you new skills that are relevant to your journey. Next slide, please. So masturbation as manifestation. So once you start using self-pleasure as a way to be more mindful and doing these mindful practices, I find that the next natural step a lot of people take is then trying to use pleasure and use masturbation as a way to manifest. And it's a really powerful way to do that. You know, when I was researching a lot of spiritual sexuality practices and the connection between the chakra system and the endocrine medical system. I found that money, sex, and creativity, they all run through the same chakra. And so when we're thinking of the art of self-pleasure, using self-pleasure to manifest can be a really, really powerful way to do that because you're hitting on other areas of your life, like how you connect to money and how you connect to creativity. Next slide, please. So one of the biggest things to understand when it comes to this is one, when it comes to manifesting our dream life, we don't get what we ask for. We get what we believe in on a cellular level. We get what we believe we are worthy in, and we get what we believe. Like if you want a new house, but you don't believe you can afford it, you can ask for it all you want, but you're not going to get it because you don't believe it. Now, masturbation is really powerful with shifting this lack of belief because masturbation teaches us to normalize the feeling of getting what we want, the feeling of pleasure, and the recognition that we're worthy of that pleasure. Next slide, please. So research finds that masturbation can seriously improve your self-esteem or body image. And this is another reason why it really helps shifting from, oh, I've been asking for this thing and it's not coming because maybe a part of me doesn't believe it, to that belief in your worthiness. So when you have higher self-esteem, you do believe you are worthy for a better life. And your thoughts will directly influence the actions that you take. So having higher self-esteem or body image that we develop over time can actually make you behave in healthier ways and manifest your dream life. So even just using mindful masturbation, you maybe don't even want to do the manifestation part, but even just mindfully masturbating and making that be a part of your routine will raise that self-belief and will give you healthier thoughts and ideally healthier actions as well. Next slide, please. So with solo sex manifestation, there's three main steps that I like to focus on. So first off, with mindful masturbation, we set an intention, right? Like I want to relax, I want to orgasm, although hopefully orgasm isn't the goal because that can be confusing to your feelings if you don't masturbate in that set, if you don't orgasm in that session. But when it comes to manifestation, the intention you should be setting is more of a question that you'll be answering. So before you go into your session of masturbation as manifestation, you want to ask yourself, what do you want to release or receive from your life? So sometimes you need to release a feeling before you can really start manifesting it. Again, this kind of goes back to that understanding of until you truly believe you're worthy, things may not be manifesting as quickly. And so with the solo sex manifestation, if you're sitting there, you've done your breaths and you're thinking, okay, what's my intention? And you're realizing like, I have a lot of resentment over the fact that I haven't hit a certain goal. I need to release this resentment. Now, your body will honestly tell you before you begin, like if you ask your body this question, it'll tell you if you need to release something or if you're ready to receive it. So asking this question and then setting a relevant intention is the perfect way to start with your manifestation practice. Second, then you just go into a practice of mindful masturbation. Once you pinpoint what you want to release or receive, masturbate as usual and fantasize about whatever you want. Now, if you're masturbating and you do start fantasizing about this goal or this dream, amazing. But if you're masturbating and you get lost in your usual fantasies, that's fine too. I've heard it before where people use masturbation as manifestation and feel like they need to control their thoughts while they're masturbating if they're using it for manifestation. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because the reason we're using masturbation is just to feel pleasure. And the intention you set before is going to be the more powerful thing that's going to get you clicked into that manifestation energy, not controlling your thoughts while you're in the solo sex. And then the third part of manifesting and using masturbation to do that is to be consistent and start scheduling solo sex. So manifestation, these words are so similar. It's like such a tongue twister. Manifestation takes time. So if you're using solo sex to manifest a better life in whatever way, set aside time in your calendar once a week to masturbate with the intention of manifestation. Next slide, please. So what makes an effective manifester in the bedroom? So one, the building the belief by normalizing pleasure. To manifest your desires, you must believe they are already yours on a cellular level. So masturbation normalizes the feeling of abundant pleasure in your body. It also helps rewire limiting beliefs and insecurities. Now, the second part about being an effective manifester, or even effective in your mindfulness, because this is true for both things, is consistency. The key to changing your beliefs or to changing a routine of solo sex or self-pleasure is to be consistent. So you will not manifest change if you do this technique once or sporadically. So if you have a specific goal that you want to manifest and you want to use self-pleasure to do it, I recommend making a weekly or bi-weekly routine and maintaining this for 30 to 90 days. So this could mean maybe you want to make more money, or maybe you want to call in a new opportunity. For the next 30 days, once a week, do a masturbation as manifestation practice and see what that does for you, how that changes your beliefs, and what starts coming into your life. Now, if you just want to use this for mindfulness practices, honestly, kind of the same thing. If you want to change a pattern or add novelty or use self-pleasure in new ways, consistently scheduling time to give yourself that pleasure is the best way to do that. And now the third thing that makes someone an effective manifester, and this is true whether you're using masturbation to manifest or not, is to know the difference between regenerative energy and manifester energy. And I'm going to jump into that on the next slide. So when we're living our life, we're in one of two energies when it comes to manifestation. You're either in the manifester energy, and this is when you're in alignment with your higher self and your goals, and the actions you take have big, immediate results. It's a really fun place to be in. However, there's also a lot of times in the cycle of manifestation where we are in regenerative energy. This is where your wishes and desires are not really manifesting, or they're not manifesting very quickly. And this also is usually a time where you may feel blocked, stuck, depressed, angry, or another quote unquote negative emotion. And so in order for manifestor energy to happen, we also need regenerative energy to happen. You do need to go through the darker times to have the lighter times. And regenerative energy isn't a bad thing. It actually is telling you that you need to surrender to what's happening right now and work with your shadow or your subconscious to heal or accept what is blocking your ability to manifest. And then you'll boop, boop, boop right into manifestor energy. And so this is the cycle that manifestation really just takes. And it's something that I think a lot of times we don't really talk about because we're so focused on the manifestor energy, because that feels so fun. The dream you want, you're getting it. The partner you want, you've met them. Who wouldn't love to be in those times? But the times when we're sad and reflective, or things are hard and we need to make serious changes, those are really important times in your life too, and they're equally as powerful. And this is another reason why, when you're using masturbation and self-pleasure to manifest, it's really important to ask that question of, do I need to release something, or am I ready to receive it? Because it could be you're at a time where you need to release things, and that's really powerful and a really beautiful time as well. Next slide, please. So lastly, when it comes to the art of self-pleasure, whether your goal is to just have a more mindful experience or your goal is to manifest things, everything will get clearer as you go. When you begin this practice, you may not exactly know what you want to manifest, or you may not exactly know how to shift out of whatever, feeling you're in to be in a better place of self-pleasure. Maybe all that you know is what you don't like and wish would change. And that's a great place to be, because you need to know what you want, that, like, what you don't like, in order to start getting what you do like. So it's not a bad thing to be there. And this is why consistency is probably the most important part of the art of self-pleasure and mindful masturbation. The more you set intentions and the more you invest in your pleasure and schedule your pleasure, the clearer you will become about the things you want to manifest and release, or the ways to bring mindfulness into your life. And we can go to the next slide. So just a couple of takeaways that I hope you get from today. When it comes to the art of self-pleasure, keep it simple and keep it consistent. The best way to be consistent is to keep things as simple as possible. Next, invest in toys or candles or bamboo sheets. I mean, I'm sure y'all already have a bunch of really fun toys, but candles and bamboo sheets, LED lights, these simple little affordable ways to elevate your bedroom can make a really big impact on your mental health. And they can add novelty to your solo sex life, which, again, studies show that novelty is one of the biggest libido boosters that we are able to access and have. And then, of course, always honor where you're at. You are exactly where you're meant to be. So if you are feeling in a rut with self-pleasure, that's okay. Honor that you might be at a regenerative place, which is a beautiful time, because you're about to discover some incredible things about yourself. When we're at a place of regenerative energy, or we feel stuck, it means we're about to learn a really big lesson that will push us towards our higher self. And then, of course, recognizing that your intentions and desires will always get clearer as you go. So as you practice these mindfulness techniques, they will only get you to be sharper about all the things you love about yourself and all the places that you want to go. And then lastly, feel free to use a pleasure scan to heighten pleasure and solo connection as needed. Again, the art of self-pleasure is about so much more than sex and solo sex and orgasm. And if you just need a way to connect to yourself at the end of the day and celebrate the body that you have, forget the masturbation and just do a pleasure scan as a way to celebrate that you are alive and you're worthy of this life that you're given. And next slide, please. So before we close out this presentation, a question that I always love to ask people, and it's a question I think that we should be asking ourselves more regularly. What are you grateful for in your sex life? And I would love it if folks would type it in the chat, write out what you're grateful for. Seriously, putting these things into words can make a big difference. So feel free to write what you are grateful for in your sex life, because I'm sure that there is something or many things. And then you can go to the next slide, please, Leah. Or we can also stay here because it's a good question. But yes, as folks are, oh, I love it. I love that my body is sensitive and can orgasm. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And as folks continue to write out your what you're grateful for in the chat, That really concludes the presentation. And so we'll jump into Q&A. But if you do have any additional questions, you want support, or you're curious about coaching, you can use this QR code to book a discovery call or a free consultation. And you can also follow me at Pleasure Science or go to pleasurescience.com. I'm at Pleasure Science on Instagram, TikTok, all over the place. Just Pleasure Science is much easier to spell than my name, Nadège. So if you want to keep in touch with me, that is the best way to do it. And then let's see. I'm going to think of something that I'm grateful for in my sex life. You know, I'm grateful that my nipples aren't very sensitive, which sounds like a funny thing to be grateful for, but I'm really grateful that my nipples aren't sensitive because I hate like wearing bras and I hate wearing like tops and things. And it's really nice that they aren't sensitive because I can like get them hit and stuff and it doesn't matter, or it can be cold and it doesn't matter. And also I'm grateful that my nipples aren't sensitive because I love BDSM and it means I can have, you know, fun bruises and stuff on my chest. But yeah, if anyone else would like to ask any questions, if you had any questions that came up or any thing that maybe is a reason why you're not being able to access self-pleasure right now. We have about 15 minutes left, so I'm happy to answer any questions or see if I can help in some way. And, you know, don't be shy to share what you're grateful for about your sex life in the chat as well. I don't know if Leah, you have anything you're grateful for in your sex life that maybe you want to share. But you also don't have to if you don't want to.
I was thinking about this. With you on the nipple front. Very happy about that area. I'm very happy that I've got my masturbation technique down to something that can be quite rapid. But I'm listening to your presentation and thinking, you saying, you know, don't just focus on the end goal. I'm like, what?
You know, I'm like that too, to be honest. Like especially being such a busy bee, like there are times where masturbation is literally like, I just need that and I need the orgasm. And that's why I think it can be so great to schedule when you want to be mindful about it. So that way you don't even have to think about it. You know, it's like, oh, like Thursday evening of this week, I'm going to give myself 40 minutes to, you know, to take it slow. And that can be, and it doesn't mean that you don't get to do all the fun masturbation at all the other times, right? It just means that, you know, you have a time to do your mindfulness practice if you want to.
What about like, I guess boys in the morning, or penis owners in the morning.
Yeah.
And you know, I tend to masturbate in the evening, and it's very just like routine, unthought about, just now, okay, it's bedtime, this is what we do now.
I love it.
How do you change the mind shift around that to shift your perception and the way that you view it? Because you know, when it's like that, it's something that's just it's nothing special.
I would
for somebody else, that would be, oh god, that would make it really boring, wouldn't
it? I would add some sort of toy or something nearby. So if you know that in the evenings, that's when you usually self-pleasure and it's been routinized, I would put, and this is why like kind of planning ahead of time, like I would maybe go and find like a cool arousal serum you want to use or something. So like get yourself a treat, get yourself a reward. Because that's another thing with self-pleasure, which I actually didn't even go into. It's great to use it as a way to give yourself rewards. So if you like, you know, if like, let's just say you like you said, you masturbate at night, get yourself a little treat, like some cool serum or some cool something that you're excited to try the morning put it near your bedside table. So that way, by the time you go to bed, you don't even have to think about it. It's already there. And then you're going to start doing your regular routine. But now you're just adding one new thing. And that's going to add novelty. And the second you add novelty, and that's why I said also keep it simple. You know, like when I said set the scene, I was like, here's 800 examples. Just use one, you know, like just get one thing, or maybe get a candle and light it ahead of time. Sandalwood is an aphrodisiac. So another thing you could do is get yourself a nice sandalwood candle, have it near your bed, and then before you do masturbation, light it. And just this one little thing that is shifting the routine, it can make a really big difference.
We have a question in the chat there.
Okay, let me see. Should I schedule and do this more often? I do porn, so I'm a lot more desensitized than I used to be and don't really desire the urge to yank it alone. But should I? Is it healthier overall to do it? I think that it's healthiest to follow the flow and energy of your body and honor that first and foremost. So if you're not as interested in doing self-pleasure because you're doing sex for work, that's perfectly fine. And it's a perfectly fine thing to accept. And then if you want to add mindfulness and see if this is something that can help and can elevate and make an improvement in your life, I would just recommend, maybe for the next 2 weeks, set aside 30 minutes and schedule self-pleasure time. This does not have to be sexual explicitly where you're going to orgasm and masturbate. This could just be doing a pleasure scan. This could just be doing a massage. So I would recommend adding more pleasure-based mindfulness, like a pleasure scan, and scheduling that in and seeing what that does to elevate your life. Does it make a big difference? Does it feel like a good practice? At the end of the day, the best thing to do is try and just see.
On the topic of desensitization, because this is something that I've heard being talked about a lot, particularly people who work in the industry who are using toys all the time. So obviously it gets desensitized. How can people reverse that?
I think just taking a step away from using, the toys that are desensitizing you, or taking breaks is the best thing to do. There isn't really any that I know of right now, but there isn't really like a serum or something that, like, there's nothing topical or like a pill or something. I think that the best medicine is taking things slow and taking breaks, and also honoring where your body is at. There's something that psychologists call name it to tame it, where if you're feeling some sort of way about what your body is doing, like your body's desensitized and maybe you're like, man, I wish it wasn't like that. Usually we don't acknowledge that we're kind of discouraged, and we try to push away the feeling of discouragement and act like it's not there, as if that'll fix it. And so in that situation, I would say, look yourself in the mirror and be like, man, I'm kind of discouraged that I'm desensitized right now. And that right there can alleviate a lot of stress you might be holding in about the experience. And that can already help with sensitization and getting you more embodied. And then I would also say, breath work is a great practice. I know at your retreats, you always have breath work and it's incredible. But breath work is really great. That 4 to 6 count breath could be a really good one to just soothe and get embodied. And just also surrendering. Sometimes the best thing we can do when things aren't perfect is surrender, because there's an element of that is outside of your control too. Like, we got to work, like maybe you can't take a break. You got to work. That's fine. Like, again, name it to tame it. I'm frustrated that I have to work, like, get the feelings outside of your body by verbalizing them. And breath work is another great, which I actually think someone just said, it helps when I take breaks typically. This person says equating super desensitization to burnout. Absolutely. I think that you're right about that. There could be a correlation there for sure. So taking breaks can be good. Breath work can be good, and naming it to let it get out of your system too.
The other thing I was thinking about when you mentioned erogenous zones and just kind of you just kind of skipped over it. And I always think about that episode in Friends where they talk about in here and then here. And, so what are the erogenous zones, and do they change depending on the person? And how can you stimulate each one?
Absolutely. So all the areas of the body that fold tend to be more powerful erogenous zones. Every human body is going to be a little bit different. Like, for example, my nipples, you could suck them for days. I don't really feel it, like doesn't matter. But the back of my knees are like a crazy play, but it's because areas of the body that fold. So in here, armpits, necks, ears, knees, toes, so fingers, any areas of the body that fold are great places to explore with a little bit of lube and see if they're more sensitive. Those tend to be kind of like the secret erogenous zones. And then crowd pleasers, your feet have more nerve endings than a penis does. So feet are huge erogenous zones. Nipples for other people can also be genitals, of course, and ears. There's a thing called an eargasm, and you can totally have an orgasm through ear stimulation. So those are some great places to start, and I always recommend using lube because that'll only make everything so much more heightened.
Love lube. Absolutely love lube.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I literally cannot live without my big jar of coconut oil at this point.
Coconut oil, keeping it natural, back to basics.
Yeah. Or just
Oh,
I'm a slut and I need so much lube.
big tub like this.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm ready. Kadunk. Oh, best ways to clear your mind. I know you said about circular breathing, which is a very good meditation technique. But I find, as I said, because this has become so much routine, sometimes I'm just thinking about what I'm going to buy at the shops the next day. It's not sexy. What are ways that you can, completely clear, not completely, you're never going to completely clear your mind, but what the best ways to clear your thoughts?
Yeah, I would do a brain dump. So if you're struggling to get in and you just too many things, grab a journal, grab a piece of paper, and dump all of that stuff out on the paper. It can be super, super helpful. It will get it out of your brain temporarily and can usually help you flow into whatever else you want to do, if that's masturbation or something else. So I would try doing a brain dump for sure.
I love bamboo sheets, by the way. That was one of the notes I made. Ooh, got my bamboo sheets.
If you got anything from this class, it's buy bamboo sheets. I bought them a few years ago and they're such a game because they're so affordable. So even if I make a whoopsie and destroy them with lube or something, you can get, it's not like getting satin sheets or something that you're nervous about messing up. And they feel like satin. They're awesome. Just make sure you wash them on delicate, because if you don't wash them on delicate with woolite or something like that, they will lose that softness.
That I did not know. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Does anybody else have any questions while we have Nadège here with her expertise? Margot on the bamboo sheet wagon. Yes.
It's honestly, the act of self-pleasure, bamboo sheets, forget everything else.
do you know, I think actually getting into bed can be the best. Can be the best.
Honestly, absolutely. And that is also a way to just be mindful with self-pleasure. Even at the end of the day, if you've had a long work day, or like you're saying, you're feeling that desensitization, having bamboo sheets is such a full body experience. That could actually also be a helpful thing to have in your arsenal, because maybe you are feeling desensitized in other areas, but you can slide into your sheets and at the very least, your skin is getting a little bit of nourishment. Also, baths and showers. Do not underestimate the power of warm water. It is such a great way to heal your whole body. do the sheets pop off easily like silk sheets? I don't know. What do you mean by pop off easily? Like, do they get dirty easily, or do they
Like off the
um,
bed?
pop off the bed? I'm trying to think. Like off the bed. I've been pretty raunchy in my bamboo sheets, and they tend to stay on, the ones that I got. I haven't had too much of an issue. I mean, maybe the pillows, but the sheets themselves, they stay on. Which again, another win for bamboo sheets. I didn't even know that silk, but silk, I get it. It's temperamental, it's like silk sheets are like the classy bitch, and then bamboo sheets are like the people's silk. But yeah, in my experience, they don't really pop off the bed, like in ways that would be annoying or disruptive during pleasure.
I'd love to know what people's favorite toys are, actually, while we have one
Yeah.
here. Yeah, because I've got a cupboard. I've got a cupboard and boxes full of different toys. I go to conferences and shows. I'm like, oh, that looks really interesting. I'm going to buy that. And I take it home and go, yeah, that was okay. And go back to the same one every single time.
Totally, totally. I love it. My go-to vibrator right now is the Arc by Dame. I really like that. Ooh, glass dildos, 100%. I love glass dildos.
I don't think I've ever tried one.
Oh, they're really, you gotta warm them up, but it's the same with crystal dildos. They're really cold. Like if you're, so just like if you're using glass dildos, or unless you like the cold. I actually had a lover who got off on being cold, which was great because I have really like bad blood circulation, so my hands are always cold. So it was great. But if you're not like that, with glass dildos and crystal dildos, I recommend putting them on your body and like getting them to your body temperature before playing with them, because it could be quite shocking how cold they are.
Yeah.
Temperature play. Oh, yes. Oh my God, absolutely.
Because this is what I always think about glass dildos, is that you put them in the fridge first, sometimes even to get a really. Yeah, I used to be a
I
dominatrix.
love
It's
it. Well, and
never
see, this
ending.
is such a good example of the art of self-pleasure, right? Like doing these little, and these are the things that we would do for clients, or we would do for lovers. Like maybe something else that we can all, everyone in here today, make a list of the things you do for like a lover or a client, and pick those some things to do for yourself that excite you off of that list.
I did like the conversation before, the comment before about working in the industry and being
Yeah,
sexual all day and not wanting to, or just not wanting to, but not having the desire to be sexual when you get home.
yeah,
And that must be a difficult one to get past, to have to bring back the desire to want to be
yeah.
intimate with yourself after you're tired, you've had people touching you all day, you've been stimulated all day. Really separating those two things, and appreciating that, or being able to appreciate the self-pleasure as something
Yeah.
completely different, and still wanting that contact.
Yeah. And again, give yourself rewards too. Like maybe if you're feeling overworked or burnt out, what is something you could give yourself that would be nice? Like, do you want to take a mini vacation, go away for a day? Like, again, the art of self-pleasure is just like trying to ask yourself, like, what do you need from pleasure? What can pleasure nourish? How can it nourish you today? You know? And so I think that's another good question to ask yourself at the end of a long workday where you're oversensitized. It's like, okay, how can pleasure nourish me with myself? Is it taking a bath? Is it lighting a candle? Is it reading a book? Is it screaming into a pillow? Is it, because sometimes we got to release. That's why, like, I feel like with the art of self pleasure, we don't talk enough about how, like, it can be a pleasure to release and like honor the feeling of where you're at.
Absolutely. We have just a couple of minutes left, so if anyone has any questions, please do let us know. and then we'll take a 2-minute break before Devon comes to talk to us about conscious uncoupling, which I think is going to be very good.
I love that. Yeah.
And I want to hear more about the best sex toys, things we should go out and try.
Ooh, I have another recommendation. Actually, I just got this candle. It's a massage oil candle, and it's also from Dame, and it has a little spout. But what I love about it is you can light it and use it immediately. Like when I got it, I was like, I hope this isn't going to burn my skin or something. And it's so great and user friendly. Like you light it, it melts in a couple seconds, and you're good to go. So that's another really cool one.
I saw it on your Instagram. Anyone that doesn't already follow Nadège on Instagram, please do go and follow. It's at Pleasure Science. And I love your posts. I love your quotes. I love the little chats, the videos.
I put so much love into it. You know, I wish Instagram paid me, those hoes, but I really do love making all that content. So if you do find me on there, please send me a message and say hi and let me know you were in this class and if this class helped you, because you know I love teaching and I'm always open to hearing how a class can be better, get feedback. But yeah.
Well, if we don't have any more questions, or give a couple another minute, we shall say a great big thank you to you for speaking with us today. It's been fantastic, really insightful.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
Yes, you know, I'm a huge fan. Nadège comes and helps out at Malibu retreats when we're in LA, and it's just wonderful.
Oh, I love working with you guys. Yeah, thank you for having me. It's honestly such a big honor, and I love working with you guys. So thank you so much for having me, Leah.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you to our sponsors, Sexy Jobs, Sex Panther, and Strip Chat.